The legal battle over President Trump's travel ban gets its day in court later today. Lawyers for the Department of Justice and states are set to square off in front of the Ninth Circuit Appeals Court this evening. One law professor is calling for a different kind of solution to balance the national security interest at stake. George Washington University Law School professor John Banzhaf is proposing that refugees with suspected ties to terror wear GPS trackers until the travel ban is settled by courts. He joins me right now. Professor, good to have you on the program. Thanks very much for joining us.
Good morning, and I'm not suggesting this is an alternative. What I'm suggesting is that the president's ban is likely to be tied up in court for weeks, perhaps months, before the Supreme Court finally gets around to the constitutional issues, and it's possible they may say he doesn't have this power. So in both cases, if he can't ban them, I think it's a lot easier to follow the lead of Germany, what Norway is now considering, and that is requiring these people to wear ankle bracelets, which allow us to track them 24 hours a day. It's inexpensive, it's effective, and Germany was convinced because they had somebody, they suspected him, they couldn't track him, and he engaged in what they call the Christmas market massacre.
I know, but I mean, given the extreme vetting that is going on right now and this heated debate over the immigration story right now, I mean, why would we even let in anybody who has ties to terrorism? And forget about the ankle bracelet. We wouldn't even let them in, right?
Well, that's what Trump is trying to do, and if he succeeds, then we don't have to worry about ankle bracelets. But as you said before, this case is now tied up with a temporary restraining order that may continue for weeks or months, during which period these people will be coming in. It is certainly possible that the Supreme Court will eventually say to Trump, no, you can't ban people from selected countries. So in both situations, they're going to come in rather than just letting them come in and saying, okay, we'll take the risk. We can't possibly track hundreds or thousands of you. Do what the Immigration Service is already doing what most states do what Germany does, have them wear ankle monitors. We can track them 24 hours a day.
But Professor, rather than taking that step as far as wearing GPS devices, why not just heighten the vetting of these people who want to come into the United States? Why not tighten that up in a way? That was even one suggestion before the Trump administration moved to put the travel ban in place, that they just should have started with that, is increased vetting.
Well, that's what Obama tried. Apparently, Trump and his people feel it doesn't work. A number of other countries have had vetting. These people have come in anyway. And I think the problem for many of the states, or many of those countries which are targeted in this current ban, is that their record keeping, their governments are so bad, we can't do very effective vetting. So in situations where there is any doubt, rather than letting them in and taking the risk that 1 out of 10,000 or 1,000 or 100 may be terrorists, we can track them 24 hours a day. We can get alerts if they go to suspicious places, and that provides a much greater extra level of security than simply trying to revamp this vetting. And by the way, revamping the vetting would take a long time. We can start putting ankle tracking bracelets on these people in a week.
Yeah, and it would be held up in the courts. You know that there would be cases filed immediately.
I don't think so.
Well,
I don't think so.
The ban is held up in the courts. That's going to be held up in the courts.
Just to be clear,
yes,
Go ahead, sir, please.
A ban is much less intrusive than, ankle bracelets are much less intrusive than a total ban. So this, to me, is a somewhat compromised situation between those who say you can't ban anybody and those who say, okay, we're going to let everybody in and take a risk.
There is no total
compromise.
Professor, there's no total ban. There's a temporary suspension of allowing people from certain countries where we know the importation of terror is a hot commodity into our country. But just to be clear,
there's a total ban for a period of 90 to 120
which is temporary.
days. Whether or not that will continue, whether or not he can do it permanently, we don't know.
But to your policy, just quickly, are you suggesting that anyone who comes in via the Syrian refugee program have an ankle bracelet? Because if we're all agreeing that the current state of vetting is not strong enough, what then do we base the criteria off of a potential terrorist? So
if by ties to terror.
So by your own definition, you're suggesting then that anyone who comes in through this program will likely get a GPS device, no?
No, sir. I'm suggesting that if the Trump administration is not permitted by the courts temporarily or permanently to ban people that they think shouldn't come into the country, they can at very least require them to wear ankle tracking bracelets. Exactly who would fall into that category would be determined by the security experts, not by you, me, or the courts.
Let me ask you this, Professor, because of the 24,772 immigrants in ICE's Alternatives to Detention program, 6,320 have GPS devices as of May 2016. How are those immigrants placed in a group requiring GPS tracking? Do you know?
No, I don't know the numbers.
Okay. But so in other words, there is a population that have these GPS devices. Obviously, if there was a tie...
That is right, and that is right, and the idea here is we're already using this. States use GPS tracking. The Customs Service uses it. We would extend it to those people whom the administration thinks present enough of a danger, but if the courts say, no, you can't ban them, whether that ban is temporary as it is now or permanent, which is what the Trump administration will eventually be going for.
Michael Block.
Yeah, Professor, let's suppose the current court order from Seattle is upheld and that Trump would resort to a policy like this. How would this be implemented? Is this somebody at each entry point making determinations? Okay, you're good. No, you have terror ties because I don't like your Twitter account. Okay, you're good. No, I know you're only 5 years old. You're a 5-year-old kid, but I don't like the way you're looking at me. Like, who determines this? How does this work?
Well, I would assume that there would be broad guidelines and you wouldn't put trackers on 5-year-old kids or 80-year-old women.
Hope not.
But again, that would be for the security people to determine, and there would be some discretion, obviously, in the what we call the ports of entry as to who would wear one and who would not. Those are the details. The bottom line is, if you can't stop people from coming in, at very least you should require that they wear the bracelets so that they can be tracked. It's simple. The details, obviously, are something you and I can't work out on a television show.
All right, we will leave it there. A lot of constitutional rights that we have to talk about as well regarding this plan, though. But, Professor, it's good to have you on the program. John Banzhaf joining us there.
Thank you very much.